These are the top 5 home theater mistakes while building your home theater that you can learn from me. I've made these mistakes. Now, these aren't gonna be in any kind of chronological order. I think they're all 5 really important. Let's go ahead and get started. Subwoofer placement. When I first assigned my room, I thought I could put a subwoofer anywhere and I would get the same bass response no matter what. Well, news to me, when I got my 12-inch Klipsch subwoofer, when I first plugged in that subwoofer and we started hearing movies, I felt completely deflated. This subwoofer sucks. That's what I thought. It was actually pretty good. The problem is that my placement sucked. So what I had to do, I had to take that subwoofer, and at the time, I didn't know anything about a subwoofer crawl. I did not understand or know anything about a mini DSP or an actual REW measurements to understand exactly bass response for the best place in your room. But I went ahead and put the subwoofer in the front of the room, probably 1/4 off the wall in the front wall, my front stage. That brought sound back into my theater. Again, brand new in my journey, but I really thought I could just pick a spot. So here's my recommendation to you, right? As you design your theater, understand that you can't just put a subwoofer anywhere. There are gonna be some places where you're gonna be able to really enjoy your subwoofer because all the waves that are transmitting in your room make sense. You're gonna have some ups, some peaks, and some lulls, and you wanna make sure that you minimize the lulls, right? The areas that suck out a lot of sound. There's waves that are coming back and forth, canceling each other. You don't wanna sit right in the middle of your room either because you will have a lot of problems there. You wanna come up a little bit more in your room. What I recommend is you start in the front of the room. Maybe pick 1/3 of the wall or 1/4 of the wall to put your subwoofer to start off with. Obviously, you can go back, play some demos, understand, oh yeah, this actually brings the most bass. It sounds great to my ears. The other thing you can do a little bit more advanced, it costs a little more money, so you get a UMIC 1 or UMIC 2 microphone, REW software in your computer, which is free, and you can actually take some measurements as you move your subwoofer, and it'll tell you what is the best bass response in your room. Again, it's free, except for the part that you have to get a special mic that'll help you be able to understand your frequency response in your room. Guys, if this is your first time watching, my name is Kevis. This is Kevis Films and Home Theater. I love to talk about movies and I love to talk about home theater. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this video. Moving on to my next mistake, and that is the pre-wire of my room. When I first bought this house that I live in and I had this basement set up, at the time I was into home theater, but never into the actual details of home theater, which has been good and bad because the more you know, the more you want to do. So sometimes ignorance is bliss, but here we are. I had a 5.1 system set up back when I first started. I did not think about adding any more speakers. I had 3 in the front and 2, my rear surrounds were in the ceiling. From there, this room has come a long way, but I've had to wire everything, I feel like twice, because I didn't think about it. I didn't put any thought to it. I could have pre-wired for a 7.1. I could have added Atmos speakers, and I did not do that. So I've had to cut holes. I've had to run wires really surface mounted on my drywall, which doesn't look great, but my room is completely dark. Most of the walls are black. You really can't see it, but it's a mistake that I made. And I hope that if you're designing your theater, go ahead and plan for that 7. Go ahead and plan for a 9.1.6. It is a lot cheaper to pre-wire the house and be ready for it than it is after the fact. Not to say that it costs more to run wire. It really aesthetically doesn't look great. You'll see a lot of cables throughout. It's a mistake that I made, and I hope you don't make. Again, pre-wire for as much as you can. Running wire is extremely cheap versus having to go back, cut holes if you want to have your wires hidden behind the wall. Or again, you just kind of have to get used to seeing wires all around. So think about that, overdo it. You never know your next upgrade. You may start with a 5.1, but you know what? You get a little bit of cash and you just can't wait to upgrade to that next receiver that's got more and more. So do yourself a favor, go ahead and plan for the future. Put enough wires to pre-wire your house. So it's just as easy as, you know what? I want to add this. I just got to pop new speakers in place, wire them in, and we're good to go. Screen size is actually a big factor. One of the things that I've done in my room, I've had multiple different screen sizes in my room. I started with a 120-inch pull-down screen. I then moved myself to 135-inch Elite screen, fixed screen. Then I decided that I want to put my speakers behind the screen, which is always an ultimate goal of mine. And I built my own screen with a spandex material. And then I decided to change that out and use XY screen material, which has a little more gain because somehow I felt like I needed to upgrade something else, and it was a cheaper upgrade compared to anything else I could do. Understand that there are so many different ways you can have a screen, whether it's cinemascope size, whether it's a 2.35 screen, whether it's a 16:9 screen. Nowadays, you have a lot of content that's just 2.0. It could be 1.85, it could be 2.0, it could be 3.41, it could be wider, some of these films that are coming out. So understand the aspect ratios, how that plays into the movies that you like to see. Maybe if you're watching more TV content, that'll probably be a 2.0. So a CinemaScope screen may not make as much sense, but films, mostly in general, most films are still produced in a 2.35 aspect ratio. That is maybe what used to be 95% of movies, maybe now still 80% of movies that come in that ratio. So, if you have a projector that can zoom in and out, you can always kind of factor that in and be able to work out, where the memory lens to go to your different aspect ratios when you're watching. But it's something to keep in mind. You may want to mark off, get a projector. If you have a projector handy, or if you can borrow a projector and you can put it up, an image up in a wall, feel what feels right to you in terms of size, then you can go ahead and maybe put some masking tape on the edges and figure out what that dimension would be. Obviously, the larger the screen, the more it's going to cost. Understand too that there is a sense of understanding how many lumens your projector can put out to make sure that you still have a bright image. If you go massively, sometimes you see these screens that go ceiling to floor, sidewall to sidewall, and they're massive. But will you be able to enjoy your HDR content because your projector is too far away and it's not bright enough, right? So think about that. Make sure that you put that in your thinking cap when you're deciding to go on a screen and screen size. As we go through this list, if you've got anything that you've learned as a mistake in your home theater, please drop it down below. It'll help the community as a whole. The idea is to be able to have enough knowledge here to, if you're starting your home theater, to be able to go to a place and reference and be able to, hey, let me check this off, and you minimize the mistakes that you make in your home theater. No home theater is perfect. No home theater will ever be perfect. So keep that in mind, but at least this helps you, hopefully, if you're starting off, gives you a good head start while building your home theater. Calibrating your room is another massive mistake that I've made in the past. When I first started, I had a Sony receiver. I turned it on. I didn't worry about anything else. I did check distances and make sure that at least from me to the speakers, we had the correct distance, but I didn't calibrate it. I didn't think much about it. It sounded okay to me. Now, granted, again, it's one of those things in life, the more you dig deeper to understanding, the better it makes sense as to why you want to calibrate your room. Most of these receivers come with a little puck, and you just wire it up to your receiver. It'll tell you where the mic input is, and it'll run its own calibration system. So don't, just because you get good sound of it doesn't mean that it's necessarily cohesively working together. You want to allow the receiver to go ahead and do its calibration, and then you want to go back into the receiver's menu and make sure that at least the distances have been set correctly, that the volumes on the speakers are set correctly. You could be sitting a lot closer to your front speakers than your rear speakers, and if you didn't calibrate it, your volume may be extremely loud on the front speakers and extremely low on the rear speakers, and you want to make sure that volume is jiving together to give you that more cohesive experience in your theater. Some of these receivers nowadays, especially if you go with Onkyo, come with Direct Life, which is a phenomenal calibrating software. You've got Odyssey, you've got many different options. So just don't disregard the actual calibration and then following up and just seeing that calibration, how it flows, making sure that, again, it has distances correctly and volume set cohesively throughout. You could go back if you have that UMIC 1 and REW and new measurements in your room and understand exactly how the before and after, so you kind of understand and see what your room has done. Calibration, you can't really say enough about it. This is something you definitely want to look into. You go to AVS Forum, there's plenty of threads that can help you kind of walk you through a calibration. So don't be afraid to do that because it'll probably improve your listening experience in your room by a ton. One last mistake here that I've made in my room is I went ahead and put a ceiling mount for my projector early on. The problem with that is that I have a kitchen upstairs, and every time my kids walk, it's like King Kong is walking upstairs. So it rattled the projector way too much, and I can see the image just up and down, and I got tired of that. There are some things that I could have done better. I could have put a lot more blocking up there. I could have tried to maybe find ways or mounts that absorb a little bit of the vibration that comes from the top floor. And what I actually end up doing, hopefully that this might be something that might help you in terms of the distance. I do have enough lumens in my projector in my LS12000 to go pretty far back in my room based on my screen size. And I built a platform just specifically that is tied back to the wall. This little project was kind of fun to make. That projector doesn't move anymore. I don't care if there's a party upstairs, it will not move. It's great. It's just something to think about. It's understanding, again, where your projector would be. If you decide that your projector needs to be right in the middle of the room because you can't get any farther back, understand that this projectors also have a little bit of noise. So if you're sitting underneath your projector, while you may enjoy the great image, just know that on any scenes that's completely quiet, you're gonna hear the projector. So that's something you want to look back. Take it farther back, possibly off the wall, in understanding that everybody's got a different case scenario here. So you may not be able to do that because your room is wide open, and to go far back to a wall, you're talking about, I got to go 30 feet, and it just wouldn't work, right? But it's something that I've learned. It's a mistake that I made originally thinking in my home theater. So it's something that hopefully adds value to you as well. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate that you enjoy this content. I enjoy making the content. God willing, hopefully I can make a lot more content for you guys in 2026. Make sure you like, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. I definitely enjoyed making these videos for you guys, and I will see you on the next one.